I have absolutely no idea what the hell I want to upload, so I thought I'd make a video more personal sided like this. Today I'm going to be going over my own personal pull plans going forward for practically the remainder of 3.x as we're almost done. And I can kind of see majority of these characters rerunning in the last little bit that we do have in the 3.x versions. The way this video is going to go is first I'm just going to talk about my unowned characters, then I'll be having the group 1, which is going to be the characters that I'm most likely going to pull if I don't already own them in the release, and then the upcoming characters and such. And also kind of why. Tier 2 will be the characters that if I have leftover currency and I got lucky enough to warrant it, then I probably will. And Tier 3 would be characters that I'll only ever really pull if I have spare summons and won't actually use a pity on, mainly just build pity and see if it early happens. Before I get into the video, be sure to check the description to join the Discord server. And now let's get straight into the video. Starting with what I do have that is currently unknown. So on my account, I currently am missing a total of 5 characters. Those characters are Jinglu, Firefly, Rappa, the Herda, and Hyacinth. Majority of these characters do have a reason behind it. Combination of me not liking some of them at all when it comes to character or usage wise. Or maybe they were just, right before a brutal character or brutal patch period. Highlighting the ones I don't like just to talk about right away because it's easy to get them out of the way. Jinglu and Firefly are characters I probably never will see on my account, as I do not like them as a character, nor do I like using either of them. When it comes to pure usage-wise, I don't know, I never found Jinglu that fun. She was pretty boring. When it came to Firefly, I never really was a break fan outside of Boot Hill. Any other non-Boot Hill form of break, I just found really boring. And yeah, as characters, I never really liked the two, to be honest. Next up would be Rappa. So Rappa I actually did like as a character, but same thing with Firefly, Super Break, big AoE stuff that I just really didn't care for. So she kind of just fell under that troop as well, even though she did kind of become better when Few came out and such. But again, I really only did like using Boot Hill for break, and all the other ones kind of did bore me. So unfortunately with that troop, I decided to skip. And this was the first time that Sorrow ever got a 1 new character period. So I decided to take advantage of that and just save. Doesn't really help that after her was Sunday and Fugue. So yeah. The Herda. So I don't dislike the Herda by any means. I don't really have that much fun using her. Like, she's cool and all, but she's not like, my favorite unit of all time. If I had her, I probably wouldn't use her too much, but the only reason I skipped her specifically was because she was literally the character before the absolute rapid fire of new patch characters being Emporius. Right after her was Aglia, Tribi, Bide, Castris, Anoxa, so on. Considering that she was really right before the actual new characters, because, Herda herself was a character, we knew the Herda, Emanator, all that, blah, blah, blah. I mainly was more interested in the brand new Emporius cast of characters, and so that's why I just decided to skip. I did build pity on her to see if anything happened, but nothing did, so yeah. And then the last character, Hyacinth. I actually do really like Hyacinth. Again, there's not really a single Emporius character that I dislike by any means. The only one I don't really care for is Ceredra. But I think the only reason I skipped Hyacinth at the time is because, I don't know if you guys know this, but for the most part on my account, I don't really have a need for sustains, even though Hyacinth can do really good damage. I really didn't have a need for her, and I didn't really use Castris like that either. And so I didn't really have a team that I had in mind that I wanted to run her on, as I really would only use her with Castris at the time, since she also didn't work with Mide, who I used more than Castris. I just ended up not really going for her at the time. The next segment, Group 1, my biggest priorities of who I don't have, who's unreleased, and my plans. So the only 2 characters I'm going to consider in the unreleased category right now is the one that we know that's coming out, being, Serene. And I will also take into account the alleged rumor going around that 3.8 is going to be Constance as a break reviver. Those are the only 2 unreleased categories for me. And so to kick it off, Serene is going to be a must-pull for me. I am a Honkai 3rd, EX Honkai 3rd player. Elijah XP, I kind of have to go for it. Not only that, but I really own every single Chrysalis hair except Hyacinth, which I'll get into in a second. And I am placing my bets that she is going to see some insane buffs in the remainder of her beta cycle to make her, actually the best in slot for majority of these Chrysalis hairs. And even if she doesn't, I probably still will get her anyways. If I do go for E2, that's something I'm still debating about because I do want to go for E2. Because at E2, she becomes a lot more insane, especially because, starting with all those stacks. That's why it's a big consideration for me, especially since, I do go for Eidolons on my characters. But yeah, getting that E2 would be a significant jump, and if I imagine when she does get buffed, that E2 is going to get even more value knowing this company. But I don't want to make a full-on decision just yet, because maybe they change it to where E2 isn't really required, or they do that one thing I was talking about in one of my other previous videos, where I'm like, yeah, what if they move the stack gen into her base kit and then change her E2 or something? I don't know. I can't really make a decision on that right now because Even at E2, the only teams I really see her on would be like funny, Anoxus, sustainless teams, and I try to make my favorite teams to be as strong as possible, so in that case, it would be something I do consider. And then, of course, the Remembrance stuff with Evernight and so on. So Serene, at least her E1, maybe if I go for that over the Lycone, because her Lycone's also kind of questionable. But since Remembrance Lycones are also kind of like iffy, I probably would go for the Lycone. And Lycones are also a lot easier to get. There's only one other character in this actual category that's going to be like, practically a guaranteed pull, and that is, you probably guessed it, Hyacinth. I've honestly really wanted to just do more shenanigans with her. I do kind of regret skipping the original banner, just because I could have some fun shenanigans with my blade and such, and now that I'm like, top simp Evernight, even though my Evernight already like one-shots everything, I want to see what more damage she can reach. And I've kind of seen what kind of other damage she can reach, so Hyacinth and especially her Lycone, because that's like non-negotiable. That character is half the Lycone. So E0, S1, and probably also E1, I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to go for E1 just because that max HP increase is just absolutely insane. Not only is it going to make, any team I use her on more tanky, for the actual HP scalers like Blade, I'm going to use her mainly with Blade and Evernight specifically. I can run the full-on actual casters Evernight team as well just for fun. Honestly, I don't know where I'd put the E1 when it comes to priority-wise, but I do think definitely getting Serene and getting Hyacinth, and especially Hyacinth's Lycone, Hyacinth and Hyacinth's Lycone as a together pairing, that is going to be all at the very top priority tier. I need to make sure I do get them. Hyacinth honestly might have a little more priority than Serene, but that really does depend on the release order. If Serene runs first and then it's the reruns, but Hyacinth reruns in the second half, then it's going to change a bit, obviously. Because I'd have to, wait anyways. But if I got, like, really rolled on Serene or something, I'd probably just get Serene herself. See what I can do from there, and then save the rest for Hyacinth. But that's, like, assuming worst case odds, going to, like, hard pity, losing, going to hard pity again, and so on. But yeah, nonetheless, Serene, her stuff, I don't know. Again, we'll have to see. And then Hyacinth, E1, her Lycone, especially with her Lycone more than E1. But if I can get the E1, I definitely want to. That is at the very top of the top priority, especially because, I'm now a Evernight main. I want to push my Evernight limits even further and have her go from one-shotting everything to looking at something and watching it explode. Now for the next tier, this would be characters that I would only end up going goal-wise if I do have the spare currency, and let's say I get really lucky in the patch, and I have more currency to throw on these banners, or even build pity and hope for an early. There are two characters in here and a certain Eidolon level that I do want to try to get at some point. One of them is Mide, and I want to try to get him at E1. E1 truly makes him a full-on god damage output because he has really good damage output, but the only issue I have is mine is E0, so his God Slayer is just blast. Does insane damage, so like I just can't imagine half the time if I had him at E1 where it becomes fully AoE and gets increased multiplier to the primary target. That is something I definitely want to get, and especially with the funny shenanigans you can do with Serene and Ceridra where you get like 3 God Slayers. Getting E1 would be so valuable in that sense. Even if it's not optimal, it would be insanely fun. E1 is something I did kind of be like, yeah, I'm going to 100% get this on a rerun, but as time went on further and further, I don't really use Mayday as much anymore. Just because I have more fun units that I find way more fun. He's not like my favorite characters to use of all time. Like, he's pretty fun, but he's not like crazy. So that's why the priority has kind of shot down. Like, he would be in the top tier, but now it's kind of like, we'll see. And then the other character in that tier would be Castress, trying to get her E2. That E2 is honestly E6 level. It is just insane. Getting a 100% action advance to get a free enhanced slash, getting the 2 extra consume charges that don't actually consume HP. So you can level up your dragon to level 2, and then at level 3 is the first breath that consumes HP, and then you can just keep going. As I did mention, I didn't originally find Castress that fun. But with Hyacinth and stuff, it did become passable fun, and with Evernight, the team is insanely fun. I know it's like 90% Evernight, which is the reason that team is super fun to me, but I like Castress enough to go for it anyways. Oh yeah, and also the E2 giving you the new Bud Bind amount equal to 30% of maximum is also just why. I don't know what they're thinking when they made that E2, but that E2 was just insane. But she was an anniversary unit, we had whatever the hell Akron did on the first anniversary unit, I guess it was to be expected. And her E1 is also a really good stepstone to that as well, doing more damage if the enemies do have less HP, as it scales up original damage, and on that team she's doing a bunch of damage already, so original damage scaling makes it that much more strong. So E2 Castress, especially with all the goals I have, you know, Serene releasing, Hyacinth getting her, or Lycone is going to make Castress go from like 50% of a unit to 100% of a unit. And throwing on E2 Castress for that, I'm probably set till 20.x if the game is still lasting that long. So that would be the other tier. Again, these aren't like, you know, I will 100% get these if they are rerunning in the same patch. So like most likely these two characters are also going to rerun in 3.8. Not 3.8, 3.7. And that's going to be with Serene, probably with Hyacinth as well. So I am going to have to be a little chill on that. Hyacinth and Serene will take the biggest priority if, let's say, it's Serene and also like Castress rerun in the first half. What I'll probably do is do my summons on Serene, get her, get ever, whatever the hell goal I decide to get, and then probably build pity on Castress and see what happens. And then if nothing happens, it is what it is. I'll just save the rest for Hyacinth because, again, Serene, Hyacinth, biggest goals. And if I get really lucky, then I'll go ahead and push for the goals, get E1 Meta if I can, get E2 Castress if I can. We will see. Now, last up, the characters that I probably only will ever do some summons on just to build pity, but never actually use pity on. That would be Rappa and the Herda. Again, if I did get these characters, I probably will never use them that much. As I mentioned, Super Break is not really my thing outside of Boot Hill. The Herda, like, she's cool, but I'm not going to use her too much either. There's also not really a point to using the Herda at E0 S0 when you have an E6 S2 Anaxa as well, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I'd probably use them for, you know, more background footage, variety, if I'm ever bored to just mess up with some teams as well. But yeah, this segment is going to be short because these are just really two characters that I don't really care about having. So I probably will just see if I can get them by building pity. I already did that with the Herda out right now. After my Evernight summons, I went all the way up to 65 pity right now. So I have 65 pity saved for Serene. I'm not going to go further because I'm saving the rest for her. Didn't get the Herda, is what it is. Maybe next time, we'll see. So if they are out at a time where I can build pity, I will build pity on them and see what happens. And we will go from there. That does bring this video to a close, talking about my own personal goals and summon-wise, as someone who owns most of the game with a lot of investment. I, again, really have nothing else to upload, so I tried to see how one of these videos will do when it comes to more personal stuff. This might seem like a lot of summoning to a lot of you guys watching because it is like, you know, characters with dupes, all this, Lycone, and so on. But you gotta remember, I've been doing this for a while. This is not really anything new. It's just more condensed, which is why I will have to see what happens. But yeah, if you guys also have a summon plan for the rest of 3.x, definitely comment down below what you will be pulling for. And that is all. Peace out.